Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining Vina and I. My name is Soila. I'm the founder and editor of the Divorce Magazine. It's a magazine that is online, and you can find a lot of information on all subjects on divorce. It's primarily, if I would say, probably 99% of the articles on there are written by experts in divorce, so divorce professionals. The other 1%, 2% are probably from people who have been through divorce, so they're giving us their perspective on divorce and how their journey was. So it's from a personal point of view. So if you have any questions on divorce, whether it's child maintenance, whether it's to do with your ex refusing to sign the papers or the divorce process, do go on the Divorce Magazine. There's a lot of information on there. If in particular you have concerns about your child or your children, do contact me. That is my background in child therapy, and I have worked with children and families for a very long time. So do contact me at soila@thedivorcemagazine.co.uk. Don't forget to subscribe to the Divorce Magazine YouTube channel. So that's me and what I do. So today my beautiful guest is Vena, and I will let Vena tell us what it is that you do, Vena.
Thank you. Hi, Soila. It's such a pleasure to be with you again. I'm Vena Ramphal, and I'm a champion of authentic relationship and authentic erotic pleasure. I really believe that when we are committed to happiness first, we are able to shine and give the best of ourselves. So I really encourage people to commit to happiness, commit to their own authentic happiness and expression of themselves and to giving the best of themselves. So when it comes to divorce, I encourage people to think of divorce as a completion rather than as a splitting up. Okay. And that completely changes the way that we think about relationship, about endings, about going on to the next chapter of our lives. And in fact, it changes the way we think about marriage into a much, much healthier way. So I'm really delighted to be here with you today to speak about my own journey through divorce, which was actually 10 years ago now. So It's wonderful to be able to speak about it with this distance.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward because we have met before, Vina. We've known each other for a while, and I have video interviews of you on the YouTube channel and on the divorcemagazine.co.uk website. And I think we probably have some audio recordings as well, which I need to put up. But the reality of it is that we've talked about divorce, but even I don't know your divorce journey.
Right.
I know you've been through one, but I don't know it. So I'm not even sure where to start asking you the questions. Maybe you know where to start telling us about your journey.
Well, let's start with this time of year. So we are freshly into a new year. And we've just been through the holidays. And I remember for myself, in January 2005, I remember exactly where I was at this point, a few days into the new year. And I had just been through a Christmas where I think my heart knew that the relationship was over. But my head had not accepted that or caught up with that. And to be honest with you, I felt totally lost. I remember distinctly pacing around our living room that January and knowing that I needed to do something, but knowing that I could not do it by myself, and knowing that I needed help. I knew that I needed help. I needed to speak to somebody who could help me. And so I had this very strong desire. I knew that I did not want to speak to friends and family because I had spoken to a few people who were close to me and they'd been very supportive. But I was really clear that I needed help from somebody who was removed from the situation, who was neutral, and who was probably a professional.
Okay.
Interestingly, I think 2 days after, I remember sort of sending out this intense desire and knowledge that I needed help. I had an email land in my inbox from somebody who was a colleague at my university. I was doing a PhD at the time. And she was letting people know that she was a qualified counsellor and she was available for sessions. So I picked up the phone immediately, called her up and went to see her. And within 2 sessions with her, I had the clarity that I needed to move forward. It was extraordinary. So the first thing I want to say to people is don't try and do this on your own. you do not need to struggle through it. Divorce is one of those things that you don't really think about and you don't know about unless you are actually at the point where you are considering one, or you're going through one, or your partner's considering leaving you, whatever the situation is. So don't struggle through it.
Okay. Vena, do you mind if I take you a little bit back and just ask you, I mean, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what would you say ended your marriage?
Yeah, that's a great question. It took me 2 years to make that decision. So 2003 and 2004 were just incredibly tough years. I mean, really, really, really tough years. If I think of the whole of my life, and particularly the whole of my adult life, they were just really difficult. And because I really meant my marriage vows, I really meant for the rest of my life. And what happened was that, my husband was a very good man, and I was doing my best to be a good wife, but we were becoming very, very different people who wanted very different lives. And what became apparent was that somewhere we had quite different values. In many ways we had very matching values, which was why we were able to come together. We met at university and fell in love, which was beautiful. But yes, we grew apart, and it became clear to me that I could either stay in the marriage and my soul, I would sort of slowly shrivel up and die, on a soul level. That was already starting to happen. Or I would need to complete the marriage and move on in order to continue to be myself. And in fact, I wanted to say that I've talked a bit about my divorce journey in the January issue of Psychology's magazine, which is here. I think it'll still be in shops for another week or so. So if you want to go and have a look, I think it's on page 75 or something, where I talk in a very heartful way about that journey, because it was incredibly painful. And I know that, it's very easy for people to say, oh, people get divorced too easily these days. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that that is absolutely not true. Nobody gets to the point of making the decision to get a divorce in a flippant way. So for your listeners who are looking, watching and listening to this, no, please do not do that to yourself. Don't tell yourself, oh, well, I'm being a bad person by wanting this or by considering this. Your commitment to your own happiness is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself, to your partner, or maybe if they become your ex-partner. And if you have children, it's definitely one of the biggest gifts that you can give to your children.
Is there, I mean, people do wonder, and I have had people sending emails through to soila@thedivorcemagazine.co.uk asking, should I divorce my husband or should I divorce my wife? Not just how does the divorce process work, but actually looking for permission to do this. January is known as January Jilt. January is known as a time where, solicitors get a lot of questions about, inquiries about divorce. If somebody asked you, how do I know I'm ready for a divorce, or should I go through with this? What would you say to them?
Okay, so particularly at this time of year, I would say just wait a little bit. Because we've just come through the holidays and everything would have been, would feel like a pressure cooker. It's like putting everything in a pressure cooker. If there are issues in a relationship. So you don't want to be reacting to the holiday. At the same time, though, you don't want to just sweep your feelings under the carpet for another year. So one of the things to think about is, have I been here before? Is this something that I'm starting to feel every year? During the summer holidays and then at Christmas, that I've had enough, and then I just kind of go back into my routine and ignore everything. So don't be reactive, but don't sweep it under the carpet either. What you want to do is create the space, the mental and emotional space for you to ask yourself the questions that are coming up for you. So create the mental and emotional space to ask yourself, do I want to complete this marriage, or do I want to continue with it and maybe go to counselling with my partner, or speak to my partner and work through the issues that we have. So how do you create that mental and emotional space? It's really important to don't rush into having a conversation with your partner about it. Yeah, because when people are couples, it's very easy for I to become we. Yes, and for your conversation to be so joined up that you're not sure which is your voice and which is your partner's voice. So take some time away from the conversation with your partner. Maybe you haven't even started that conversation with your partner, which is fine. Before you do that, you want to go into a space with yourself. I strongly suggest that people either, start keeping a journal, or take some regular time for meditation for themselves, or take themselves out for a coffee or a drink or a meal or something, just to have that on a regular basis over the next few weeks. So that you are creating time for you to have a continuing conversation with yourself, where you ask the questions, what am I unhappy about? And, really sort out what the issues are.
Yeah.
And then you can start to get some clarity.
And one of the things that I tell people as well is going for couple counseling or couple therapy is not always, the goal for that is not always to stay together. It can be a means of ending properly. Exactly. Because you're put in an environment where you can both be heard and you can both hear each other, because you have this third person there, and you can begin to understand, actually, I have my clarity, I do need to move on, or actually we can still work things out. So couple counseling doesn't necessarily mean going to work things out to stay together. It can be some form of mediation, but with a therapeutic background, psychotherapeutic background to it.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I think that the other thing to add there is that both of you need to be 100% willing to go to that counselling together. It's no good if one of you wants to go but the other one doesn't. Yeah. That's something that I'm really clear about, because you're not going to get anywhere.
No.
So yes, I think that, and I would say that even if you are going to go to couples counselling, still take the time to listen to yourself. Yes. That's so important. To come back and hear your own voice. Yeah. Come back into the center of your body. Do you know what I mean? Let yourself, and it is physical. There's an exercise, something you can do actually. I'll just tell everyone this right now. If you take a deep, plant both of your feet on the ground, take a deep breath into your lower belly and breathe out into your lower belly, and just take your attention into the area around your navel, because that's the center of your body, just below your navel, center of your body. And breathe into that place. Just do that a few times. And in those breaths, you'll come back into your center, come back into yourself, into the flesh, into your own feelings, into your own mind, into your own heart. And just doing that, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I don't have time to go and take myself off for coffee on a regular basis, just start with the breathing and you'll come back into yourself. And that creates, the reason that creates mental space is that this is a yogic thing, okay? The breath is the link between the mind and the body. Your breath is the link between your mind and your body. So when you calm and center your breath, you calm and center the whole of your mind and your body, and you can hear yourself more clearly.
Okay. Oh, I was so gone with everything you were saying. I was trying to get into that space, forgetting I'm interviewing you. I'm not in a session. Very calming, I have to say, Vena. So with your divorce experience, what would you say you have learned from that?
Oh, goodness, so much. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful and so appreciative of the whole marriage and the whole divorce and everything. I think that, one of the things that I was working with before, in the time leading up to my divorce, and I'm sharing this with people because, again, if they're at that stage where they're not sure what to do, and they're not clear what direction to move forward in, this is something that I think that working with a book or with somebody else can be really useful. Now, at the time, in late 2003, I started working with this book. It's Fiona Harold, Be Your Own Life Coach. I have to say, I no longer work with this kind of material, but at the time, it was exactly what I needed. And because marriage is so bound up with your life direction, and one of the reasons that divorce can feel so ungrounding for people is because it's like you have this image of your future with your husband or your wife and family, and then suddenly that's taken away, and it can feel like, well, who am I now? What's the future? It can feel like this blank screen, which can feel very, very scary. And I think that taking the time to think not only about the relationship, but also how it fits into your life is really useful. So do check this out if you feel pulled to that. But I particularly wanted to, because that was to answer your question, one of the things that I learned was that you cannot be your full self. You cannot be a loving, productive, useful human being if you are miserable in your marriage. You just can't. Yeah. And the idea that, well, I'm going to stay together for the sake of other people, or because it's expected of me, or because I don't want to hurt my husband or wife, that was a big one for me. I didn't want to hurt other people. And this thing of what will other people think?
It's a big one.
It's a huge one.
It's a big one.
But there's something I was just flicking through this actually, and she begins with a quote. It's actually from Marianne Williamson, and Nelson Mandela had quoted it in his inaugural speech. And it's that, the quote that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. That one. I wanted to read the last line. The last sentence says, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically releases others.
Wow.
As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically releases others. So if you're fearful about getting a divorce, remember that actually you would not only be liberating yourself if you're doing when you do what's right for you, but you give other people the permission to liberate themselves, and you allow them to be themselves as well. So, start to think of it not as a failure, but as a success, and in fact as a gift.
And that's how you see it for your divorce.
That absolutely is how I see it. It's about the gifts of passion, and it is a very heartful, very bruising process.
It is.
There is no question. But if the choice is either to stay in this caged, small life where you do slowly die on a soul level, or you can flourish and be yourself and actually bring more joy to everyone in your life.
Yeah, including yourself and your partner. You're freeing your partner from something that you're not tying them to something that you don't want.
Exactly.
And I remember somebody once saying, paraphrasing, but saying something to, you cannot be successful in something you don't want.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, it's so true. And that really, really applies to relationship. The other tool that I wanted to mention, so I made that sort of became very clear, and it was for me to leave the marriage. And it was the end of February when I moved out, and that it happened very fast.
Okay.
Once that was very, very interesting for me, actually.
The separation happened first, but the whole process took a while, because you said it was like 2 years before you actually...
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
The decision, yes, I struggled with it for 2 years. But and then I had this period of time, over Christmas, and then it was really January 2005 when I did that introspection and so on, January through February. And then at the end, it was the end of February, I think it was around the 24th of February or something, that I had that final conversation with my ex-husband. And I actually moved out of our home a week later, just because suddenly everything was happening quickly, and I wanted to move on.
It was time.
That was what was right for me. I'm not suggesting that that's right for everybody. Just to be really clear, the practicalities and the circumstances have to be right for you, and that's, as you know, Soila, that's different for everybody. But one of the things I wanted to share was that pretty much one of the first things I did because I was really aware I was starting on this and a new chapter of my life. And I started a journal, and I've talked about journaling before because it's one of the things that for me has been a really important part of my practice, my sort of personal development and my spiritual practice. And you will find if you start journaling that you'll be surprised at your own wisdom.
Explain.
Yeah, when I look back now at things that I've written on my journal, I'm like, I wrote that. Yeah, you did. So, and the very first page here, I'll read. This was a quote from another book that I was working with, and I can't remember what it was now, to be honest with you. But I think it's very appropriate for new beginnings. And so I wrote, I promise to keep an open mind and an adventurous spirit, and let my higher intuitive self lead the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like you wrote that this morning.
Interesting. Well, it's very fresh.
Yeah.
And the date there is the 11th of March 2005.
Wow.
So that was the very beginning of this new chapter, and it was a real roller coaster, I can tell you. 2005 was a roller coaster year for me. So you are coming out of marriage, be prepared. You have to have your supports around you.
Yeah.
Have your supports around you. But I think this is so important. I promise to keep an open mind and an adventurous spirit.
It really is. It is. And I wish more people would eventually, I'm not saying you see it like that at the get-go when you start the divorce process, but at some point actually see, you know what? That's a part of my life that I've been through. And this is a whole new chapter, as opposed to holding on to everything from that past and being angry with everyone in the future and, living a life of complete acrimony between you and your ex until the children are married and the grandchildren are graduating. It can go on for years, and it really doesn't have to be that way. So I wish more people would embrace that statement of, new chapter.
Absolutely. And it is happening more and more. It really is. We are seeing that more and more, that people are aware that, I call it just the mature approach to divorce.
Yes.
We really are, we're starting to grow
up.
I
like that, the mature approach to divorce. Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to grow up about divorce and recognise that actually it doesn't have to be acrimonious. It can be done very intelligently. That's not to say that there aren't emotions, but the point is you have processes in which to hold and honour and process your emotions, so that you can then make clear decisions. And I know that that's one of the things that you help with all the different services that you signpost people to the Divorce Magazine.
Yeah, I enjoy doing the Divorce Magazine because when people contact me about, with a question, and I know I can't help them, I can't help the clients that you work with, they contact and they ask, do you know of a good solicitor who's, specializes in men? And like you're saying, signposting, I love being able to do that and having people like you being interviewed, and people can hear and listen and decide, well, I would like to get in touch with Vena. So Vena, I don't know if you still work with clients, because I know the last time we spoke, you had clients and you were working with people. So what kind of clients do you have at the moment, or are you looking for at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm not taking on any new coaching clients at the moment. In fact, I only take on people for private coaching through referral.
Okay.
However, I have a number of different things coming through for next year. And the main thing that I wanted to speak about is an event. It's a 3-day retreat for women.
Okay.
And so this is for women at any point in their life. This isn't specifically around divorce.
Okay.
It's around femininity. And the retreat is called The Goddess in Your Body. And it's about creating authentic femininity and erotic pleasure from the inside out.
Okay.
So honoring your own body and your mind and your desires exactly the way you are, right? So it's all about that, again, creating from the inside out. And this is something that I find that people are really, really deeply interested in. What is expected of me in terms of my femininity? What do men want? Yes, what do I want? How does that match up with what I want? And I'm all about bringing people back into themselves, into their own body. So this is not about, you know, how do I buy sexy lingerie or something like that.
Yeah.
No, this is much, much deeper, and it's unique and individual to you, because each of us has an absolutely unique femininity.
Fantastic.
And the goddess in your body is about, and the goddess is a very strong word. Yeah.
It is.
And I picked it deliberately because our flesh is divine.
Yeah.
We are fully expressions of joy and happiness when we allow ourselves to be. And that is magical, and it is absolutely divine. So the goddess in your body is about being the fullest, most gorgeous, beautiful, authentic woman that you are already.
Yeah.
It's allowing her to come out.
Yeah.
And so we'll be working with a number of different approaches, but particularly I work with classical Indian dance because I'm a dancer. So you'll be learning some really beautiful things to literally embody and bring into yourself your own femininity and divinity.
When will the workshop be?
Okay, so in Europe, it's going to be in Geneva. Okay. That's the current plan. In July. We're still working out the details, so I will definitely post all of that on my site, and if people use social media, I'll absolutely post it on my Facebook page, so just go and find Vena Ramphal page and like the page to keep updated. I'll post it on Twitter and on my blog.
What's your website, Vena, so people can find you?
So venaramphal.com. There's also thewayofthebody.co.uk, and there's also a blog, venaramphal.wordpress.com. So you'll definitely find it, and I'll also put it on my YouTube channel. Actually, you were speaking about YouTube. That's probably a really easy one for people to go to. I'm preparing a little video about it at the moment, which will be up there soon, and all the details will be there. So please do come to that. That's going to be quite a small. I think we're going to have a maximum of 20 participants or so. Okay. So it's going to be very immersive. It'll be a really, really special event. So if you're looking for something to treat yourself with this year, do consider that.
Thank you. And it sounds very appropriate for women who have come from, you know, a marriage, and now they find themselves ready to start dating again, but they're like, what the hell's going on out there in the dating field? You know, how are things working nowadays, you know?
Exactly. And it's really interesting because I find that women who come out of a marriage and allow themselves to embrace that process absolutely start to glow. I mean, to be honest with you, there isn't a better time to do this work and to embrace your femininity than when you're freshly out of a relationship. It is such an exciting time.
Yeah, and because when you I remember reading this really funny. I can't say it the way it was, but it was quite funny. This picture thing where it said, you know, when you to this guy telling this other man, okay, so now you're divorced. Don't worry so much about how you're going to meet people. Just worry about where you're going to find a good picture for your profile page, because you don't think about any of that. So all your pictures when you're married is with your wife or with your husband, with the kids, on holiday. So there isn't anything quite sexy enough to put on a dating profile. So I think that would be really good. So let me know about it as well, and I can put it out there for you when it's all when we're ready to go. But Vena, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and it's so good to hear that you have come out of your divorce the way that you are now, that you're grateful of the marriage, you're grateful of the divorce, you're grateful of the process. Really, really, you know, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Soila. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe on the Divorce Magazine YouTube channel. This is probably where you're watching the video. If not, go to YouTube, the Divorce Magazine, and do subscribe and keep up to date with the other videos that we have on there and the ones that are coming up again. Thanks, Vena.